Hello. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me clearly? Give a thumbs up if
So,
you can hear me. Hi, lovely. Hi. Hi, Adam. Hi, Erin. Hi, Manya. Hi, everyone. Um, okay, nice to meet you all. We're just going to wait a few minutes to see if anyone else is going to join. Welcome to the Actor Training and Coaching Online Information Session. Just a bit of icebreaker. I'm just going to ask where everyone's tuning in from today. I just like to do that to see, who's the farthest person today. So if you can just type in the chat where you're tuning in from, that would be lovely. Oh, London, so not too far from us.
Yeah,
Birmingham. Okay, that's much farther.
London.
Oh, Ireland. Oh, someone from the US as well. Oh, India as well. Nice to meet you. Oh, that's a really lovely group. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Just before the session starts as well, I would want to mention that we're going to record this session, so we'd be able to upload that to our YouTube page. So if any of you have maybe an internet connection problem and you miss a few words, you can always go back to our YouTube to rewatch the video as well. And for some people that also missed this session, it will be good for them to be able to watch it again. All right. So, without further ado, I'm just going to start recording and I'm going to hand over to Jess.
Thanks, Ikram. Hi. I would love it if I could actually see who I was talking to. So if it's possible and safe for you to do so, I would love it if you put the cameras on. It's a very teaching is a dialogical pursuit, and it is very difficult to teach when you don't know who you're talking to. So if you feel brave enough, I'm gonna keep going, but if you feel brave enough, I'd love you to turn your cameras on and just show your lovely faces. So I can. Hi, Ella. Thank you so much. Hi, Bethany. Um,
hello. I'm sorry, I am driving, so I'll have to switch off my camera.
that's absolutely fine, Rachel. We I am admiring the fact that you switched on for such a lovely brief moment. Um, so my name is Dr. Jess Hartley. I am the program leader of the MA and MFA in actor training and coaching at the Central School of Speech and Drama. And I'm just going to talk you through the program as it is. And I'm here to answer any questions. As I said, teaching is a dialogical pursuit. So if at any point you want to say something, you can either unmic yourself or you can write something in the chat. Ikram is looking at the chat, monitoring the chat for questions all the way through. So you've beautifully demonstrated that you can engage with the chat. You've told us where you're from in the world. Noticing London, Woking, Ireland, New Delhi, and another from India, which is it demonstrates to you that actually there's a dual kind of pull within our program always um, between the UK nationals and the international students. We generally have an ensemble of around 20 students a year, and 10 of those people are generally from the UK or UK nationals. So they may have residency in the UK, and 10 of those students are generally international students. And the cohort at the moment, those international students are from Latin and North America. They're from India. They're from Pakistan. They're from China. We have a large contingent from China this year. China, Taiwan, South Korea. We have students from Australia. We have less European students than we used to, but I will leave it up to your imaginations to wonder why. But the principle of the program is that we work with who you are. And we don't deny that culture, background, and language are different. And we work to support you as students from that. And we don't try and change who you are as human beings. So what I've done is I've created a presentation for you. I'm going to speak for probably about 20 to 30 minutes, and then I will open the forum for questions. But like I said earlier, if you have any questions or anything emerges as I go through, pop it into the chat and I'll either decide to stop and address it in that moment, or I will leave it to the end, and then I've got a lot of questions for you. But if you want to unmic and ask anything at any point, you let me know. All right, so let me work out how to share my screen. Here we go. Can you all see that? Yeah. Thank you for putting your thumbs up there. So let me know that you can see it. So currently, the program is called MFA in Actor Training and Coaching. And I am the current program leader. My name is Jess Hartley. My program pronouns are she, her, they, them. I am a senior lecturer in acting pedagogy. That means that I have researched and published in the field of training actors, but primarily angled towards this word, this complicated word, pedagogy, which means teaching and the philosophy of teaching. So I've asked questions like, what is acting? What skills do people need to have to be able to do it? And how do I teach it in an inclusive, thoughtful, accessible way that honours and celebrates the cultural positions of the students that are in the course in front of us, and kind of celebrates the identities of actors as a whole and allows them to have long and sustained understanding of their own practices of actors, leading towards careers as actors. So one of the ideological threads that we have on the course is that as teachers, we must be cognizant of what we are perpetuating and what we are dismantling. So largely, actor training within the West comes from a Stanislavski-inspired way of working. And when we bring actors and students into the room, particularly in a place like the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, there are expectations of what that means to be a Stanislavski-based acting practitioner. So whilst our course engages with Stanislavski-based practices, we also take a sideways glance at them and say, is that what we agree with in 2025? And how do we centre the identities of the performers who might not be as comfortable within that type of approach to actor training? And we also engage with what that is. What is a Stanislavski-based approach? Because very few of us these days were actually taught by Stanislavski. And even the experts and theorists disagree. We have the different translations from the Russian, and we have the different families of training that emerge from the Stanislavski-based training. So we sit ourselves alongside it and we go, if we train using a Stanislavski exercise, how do we do it in a way that befits actors in 2025? So primarily those questions are, how do we train in relation to the identities of the actors? How do we train for their neurotype? How do we train to be accessible? What text do we use? Why do we use them? And how can we dismantle systems of oppression alongside giving actors strong, thoughtful, and intense technique? That's a lovely picture. That's us at graduation in 2019, I believe, maybe 2020. A group of actor trainers from the program, and they're typical actually. That students we have sitting next to me at the bottom. We have Rama Janiolu Dusari, who is an academic who works in the US now. we have on my left-hand side, we have Claire Stella, who's about to submit a PhD in active training. Behind me, holding onto a child, is Gustavo Diaz Pereira, and he works in the Lecoq tradition, and he trains at Lambda in the UK, and is also contracted to teach at WADA. So that's a beautiful cohort. Kate Ruscombe King, the middle-aged woman behind me, white woman behind me, is an intimacy coordinator, intimacy director. And Josh on the far right-hand side of the screen, clutching his suitcase, is a secondary school drama teacher studying for an ed doctorate in drama training and actor training combined. So he's studying for a PhD. And there are some there that I've missed. Debbie, who's peering at the back behind Gustavo, is studying for a PhD. We've got In Young Lee, who is a translator of actor training books in South Korea. Melissa, who's studying next to In Young Lee at the back behind Rama, is training actors in China. So we have a broad range in that photograph of different career pathways that students can take when they leave the MA, MFA. Carl Devoki in that picture as well, standing behind Claire Stella. He's a playwright and has published work. So what the MA, MFA intends to do is to give you the skill set to be able to take the next step into your career. We're not going to define what that career is for you. We will offer you a number of different pathways, and they will be about rigorously interrogating what actors do in 2025 and how we support them to their best. Whether you want to come in as a director, a theatre director, whether you want to come in as a potential dramaturg or as a acting coach for film, we will host you and offer you opportunities that are situated based on what your needs for the programme are. So you won't come out the same as one another. You come out of the course with a bit more of a deep engagement with who you are when you stand in front of a group of actors, whether that be as a teacher, a lecturer, or a coach, whether that be as a director, or whether it be as an intimacy coordinator. So we're in the middle of revalidation at the moment now. All degrees need to revalidate within 5 years. Every 5 years, so we're in a process of revalidating, and the revalidated course will be published in February 2026. However, there are 3 things I need to articulate to you now. That there will be a name change. The course is going through a name change. At the moment, we're still on the website as Actor Training and Coaching, but the new title of the course is Training Actors, Practice and Pedagogy. We want to celebrate the practice, the practical elements of training actors, but also the kind of embodied wisdom that comes with thinking through and having a philosophy as teaching. And that scary word pedagogy is just about that. Understanding ideologically why we teach the way that we teach. All of the competitor courses, one in Helsinki and one in the US, use the word pedagogy in their titles. So marketing have articulated to us that we should as well. So if anyone's scared of that word, it just means teaching. But it's kind of philosophy of teaching as well. So the name change is the first part of the revalidation process. The second part is that we're going to offer, for those of you that are UK based, additional exit points. So you can do the course as a PG cert, a postgraduate certificate, or you can take the course as a postgraduate diploma, depending on the amount of credits that you're intending to study. So that offers a more of a streamlined or more kind of staggered way of getting yourself a master's qualification if you want, bearing in mind that you can change the route that you're on or the pathway that you're on. So you might start on a PG cert and then go, you know what, I'm going to end with the MFA. That's also an option. And they are accredited or affiliated with the Higher Education Authority, and they lead, for those people that are UK based, to Associate Fellowship of the HEA, which is one of those things, which is a qualification. It's a peer-driven qualification within the UK that says that you're qualified to teach at higher education level. That's for the MA as well as the PG Cert and the PG Dip. Okay, and we have within the revalidation introduced a new module. I'll explain a little bit more about that when we get to the next slide. Actually, it's not, it's slide 5, but we've added a module that is about pedagogy in production. Shabnam has asked whether the MFA and the MA are still an option. They're all still options. Yes, absolutely. We've just added the PG Cert and the PG Dip on there. So they are absolutely still options. We all just have 4 different exit points rather than 2 at the moment, which we have at the moment. And so, yeah, this pedagogy in production module is you'll be working alongside a production, and you'll be doing the coaching and supporting on a production, and you will as part of the pedagogy in production module work with stage combat instructors, intimacy coordinators, and for those of you that are excited by big names, Katie Mitchell will be one of the teachers on that part of the programme, award-winning theatre director Katie Mitchell, as will Bijan Shabani Olivier, award-winning theatre director you might not have heard of, but you might have heard of the Barbershop Chronicles, which he directed. So Bijan Shabani, alumni of Central, and Katie Mitchell, who's one of our associate professors at Central at the moment, will be teaching on the pedagogy in production module. Okay, so exit points. The course has a varied exit point. So I guess let me see. So 2 drama school principals within London are alumni of this course. Actually, not in London. Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts, LIPA. The principal is a graduate of this course, and Arts Ed the principal at Arts Ed is a graduate of this course. We've got 7 heads of drama in UK Conservatoire drama training schools who are graduates of this course. There are 21 teachers. I'd had to change that. I had it at 19 for the last presentation, and I've just got 2 more. HE schools programs within the UK, lecturing or senior lecturing position in either universities or conservatoire drama schools, and then we've got around 30 across the world. I love that photograph. That photograph is 2 graduates from the course. Actually, you've got Jonathan at the back as well. So Kim, the smiling fella on the right-hand side of the screen, Kim has a PhD now and is an associate professor at University of Seoul in South Korea. And Stefania Magini is the Dante scholar in Naples. So Stefania specialises in directing Dante productions, so graduates of this course. We have high levels of students walking into jobs during or immediately after their programmes. We have a careers session at the end of the year, whether on the MA or the MFA pathway. And at that point, we support you to work out where you might be applying. But students start applying for jobs around January or February. And part-time students sometimes end up in jobs by the time they're at the 2nd year part-time. We have 2 students, alumni, have created their own schools. One is in London, it's called All In Actors. The Stage rated it as the highest quality provider of 1-year programs, and the stage sponsor the students are all in actors. 50% of the students get their scholarship from the stage. And we also have Joan Wang, who's created a school in China, looking at the UK pedagogical model and kind of infecting the Chinese system with questions of inclusion, radical inclusion, and equity-centered practices within training, which is very exciting. We have a lot of PhD conversions. A lot of people start on the course, get excited about research, and go on to do PhDs. There are 7 or 8 who have completed PhDs. The Chase Scholarship at Kent University for the last 3 iterations has gone to a graduate of this course. And that sets the tone for kind of inclusion, questions of identity, practice and politics, and pedagogy within the field of actor training. So our students, our graduates, are setting the benchmark for what ethical actor training practices the world over. We have some award winners. Marianne Badrachani has just been honoured by the French Ministry of Culture and has been appointed Chevalier des Arts et des Lettres, which is the French equivalent of an MBE, for those of you that are conversant with the UK system, for changing the field of directing in relation to intimacy consent in France. We have Scott Jackson. Scott Jackson works at Notre Dame University in America, and Scott Jackson won the Shakespeare Association of America's Public Award for his work in Shakespeare in prisons. So looking at working with rehabilitation of offenders in relation to Shakespeare and performance practices. We also have the very lovely Jane Perry. Jane Perry won a BAFTA 2 years ago, the British Academy of Film and Television, and she won the BAFTA for voiceover acting in gaming. So there's some strange pathways that students take, and we have some graduates at a very high level, and that benefits us. It gives us opportunities. Jane comes in and teaches students how to engage with voiceover acting and teaches students at Central in voiceover acting. Scott Jackson networks us for the Shakespeare festivals. Marianne comes back and helps and supports with our directing programs, but also offers opportunities for graduates to have meetings and to go on placement and to be as part of a network, exchange network. So if you graduate from this program, you join a celebrated group of students. Some institutions, many institutions, particularly in the UK, proactively recruit graduates from our program because of their understanding of inclusion and ethics and positionality. So this is the way that the program works currently. This is the list of units on the MA, MFA, actor training and coaching. We start with the pedagogy unit. Now that looks as if it's second, doesn't it? It's only second because it is called Unit 2 currently in the program. We have approaches to acting and pedagogies. They're the first 2 that part-time students and PG Cert students potentially will encounter in their first year. Approaches to acting is a practical engagement with actor training practices. We start with a loosely critical Stanislavski-based training, but we also engage with the apostologies from Stanislavski. We engage with Demidov, we engage with Vakhtangov, we engage with sometimes Meisner, not often though, Michael Chekhov, so all of the kind of Russian school, and then the Beslavsky-based systems that went to the US, We engage with practical aesthetics. We engage with the work of Uta Hagen, and also engage with occasionally Lee Strasberg, but always from the position of how does this support the actor? How does this support the actor? So that's we also then go to Eastern European practices. So we start off from Stanislavski, and then we go to the parallel narratives. So we teach Grotowski, we look at Lecoq. We also engage with clowning from a Gaulier perspective. And what else? Oh, viewpoints. We have the person that runs the unit is the viewpoints practitioner. And every year we invite Anne Bogart to come in and teach the viewpoints sessions for us. We try and approach for that unit the best in the world who happen to be in London at the time. So fortunately, very fortunately, London is a place that a lot of people like to come. And so when Bella Merlin flies in from the US, we get Bella Merlin to teach some stuff on the Stanislavski-based methods, Bella Merlin's ideas in relation to that kind of a connection and connectedness of community are a part of the way that we set the tone of the program. So that's approaches to acting unit, and that's a 40 credit unit, and it's taught currently in this iteration from September to March, 1 day a week, one full practical day a week, and that's to ensure that you've got more time during the week to do research and reading, and you're taught as if you are actors, although all of the people that we bring in to teach also navigate the idea of pedagogy in quite a lucid manner. So they articulate why these exercises fit for them and how they fit. And we always recognise that unless you've got the originator of a method, i.e. Anne Bogart coming in to teach, well, she's not the originator of the method, but arguably we can't have Mary Overley, but Anne Bogart's work, unless we've got the originator of the method, you get the teacher, the training, and the teacher will articulate why this practice and how this practice works within their system and within their positionality. So that's a part of the approaches to acting unit. At the end of that unit, you do a presentation, a 20-minute presentation, where you take a contemporary problem in actor training. It might be intimacy, it might be neurotype, it might be consent, it might be cool downs, warming up and cooling down. It might be what, and then you say, how am I going to solve this problem based on utilizing 2 approaches to acting that I've encountered this term. You might bring approaches to acting that you haven't encountered that term, and we will support you to articulate how those practices situate themselves. So you do a 20-minute presentation and you submit a rationale of why these practices are attractive to you. So that's the approaches to acting unit, which is a 40 credit unit. Alongside that, from September to December, you have your pedagogy unit. That unit is taught by me. That's a full day a week. And the pedagogy unit begins with what is teaching, what is learning, and how do we do it? And also, what is inclusion, what is access, what is ethics? We also look at how we plan. So I teach students how to plan sessions. Why do we start with this particular warm-up? How do we create learning outcomes? How do we develop actors in a genuine way? So that question of how we teach is matched with the approaches to acting, what we teach. All right? So how we teach in pedagogies, what we teach in approaches. At the end of the pedagogies unit, you do a 20-minute teaching demonstration. You teach one another. So last Thursday and Friday last week, we just finished that unit, and we had some scene work, students developing their scene work together. Gosh, what else did we do? We did some motion capture training. We had students teaching each other how to deconstruct a text. And they teach for 20 minutes and are assessed on that, and also do a critical reflection on their emerging pedagogical praxis. So it's, how do I think about, or how am I beginning to articulate what I do as a teacher that is beyond I teach Uterhagen and towards I teach Uterhagen this way because of my ethics, or because of my position, or because of my background. All right, so it's a critically conscious engagement with teaching and learning. The next unit is the performing research unit on the current specification. This is going to change moving forward, but performing research currently a 20 credit unit, which introduces you to research methods and research theory, and you create a collaborative group presentation where you present for 20 minutes on an idea, a thought that you've had, and the intensive research that you've done. Some students have gone to a particular school and researched students there. Some students have. Last year we had an amazing one on intensive actor training, and what intensity is and how it forms itself. We also had students doing a case study on the roles that actors are playing. We have a dual heritage actor going, which roles am I given and why am I giving them? And the question of ethics in relation to what roles do I accept, even though these roles are for an East Asian actor or an Indian actor, but they're not of my culture. Is it okay for me to take those parts? So that question of identity and casting, and then auto-ethnographically, so using their own experience, but also looking at the world and experience of other dual heritage actors, going, what questions do we have to ask of a script in relation to what I should be playing and what I shouldn't be playing. So performing research is about to change, hopefully, but it sets the tone for kind of research and research levels being quite high. The next unit, 40 credit unit, is practices unit. And for those students that are on the part-time pathway, this is in the second year. For those students that would be doing the PG Cert, the course finishes after the pedagogy unit. But for the postgraduate diploma, the practices unit is the final unit. The practices unit is where you go on placement. And this is quite a high selling point for our programme, the practices unit. We offer placement opportunities, and the course specification says between 20 and 80 hours. That's just to ensure that we're not overburdening you. 20 hours is absolutely the minimum, and that could be a part-time student who can only commit 2 hours a week because they've got caring responsibilities, and they sit in and they observe, or they support, or they teach alongside someone for 10 weeks. The majority of students do more than 80 hours on their practices unit. They might be assistant directors. They might be working as coaches alongside a production. They might be supporting a teacher within technical classes, and they get a lot of opportunities. You get 1 or 2 placement opportunities during your time. And currently, I went through the list this morning. We have 1, 2, 3 BA programs at Central that all offer placements. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 MA programs at Central that offer placements. So musical theatre, acting for screen, contemporary theatre, and then the BA programs. And devising collaborative is the other one alongside those. So depending on your skill set, we will match you either into a program at Central, depending on your skill set and your area of expertise. I'm not going to put you into musical theatre if you're a screen actor. I'm not going to put you in screen acting if you're interested in musical theatre. Why would I? that largely actually our musical theatre students go and practice and become assistant directors for productions down at Mount View. Mount View College is an amazing school for musical theatre. We have 2 alumni that run the postgraduate programmes there, and they're always looking for our students to come in and do some teaching or give them opportunities. So we work at Mount View, we work at Arts Ed, we have opportunities for placement at RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, particularly within their MA Theatre Lab programme. So highly physical, competent performers are preferred for that placement. We also work at Arts Ed and at Rose Bruford. Largely our North American students go to Rose Bruford to work with the American Theatre Arts programme, and 2 of our MFA students currently on the programme are working at Rose Bruford, and I say working, they're being paid to teach at Rose Bruford Theatre School. So there is a very high proportion, particularly with the MFA pathways, of students being paid to teach within their 2nd year. After you have your practices, oh yes, and also 1 student a year will get the opportunity to work alongside Katie Mitchell on Katie Mitchell's directing course. That is quite a highly sought after opportunity to place, but Katie will interview those people herself, anyone that has the availability to do it full time and has the skill set that Katie needs. So we're quite plugged in and try and give students the best opportunities that are available to them. And according to their areas of interest, we've had staff members or students saying, listen, I'd really like to work with a kick-ass feminist tutor, please. And I'll go, well, then you need to work with Cheryl Bell at Mount View, or you need to. So I will think about not only who or what your skill set is, but who you want to learn with and where your areas for expansion are. Because our program is all about articulacy, and the more you're able to articulate why you want to do it and where your areas of interest are, the more likely you are to have an enriching and nourishing program. Okay, so this is my attempt this morning to create a new slide. So in the new iteration of the program, we have shifted performing research, which was the research-led unit, and created pedagogy in production, which is a new 20 credit unit. And like I said, that will be managed by a director, but it's not solely for directors. It's for people who understand the collaboration that happens on productions between teachers, trainers, and all of the members of the department. At the end of that unit, students will have do a presentation or a viva voce, which is a kind of a conversational test. They bring in a production folder. Now, they might have done a case study on a production that happened at Central and critically engaged with that. They might have hypothesized. They might say, well, based on the cohort that's on BA acting at the moment, there are this demographic of races and genders. I would select this production. This is how I might cast it. And then they would create a scheme of work alongside that. So what would they do over the 6 weeks of rehearsal? They would also have to have conversations. So if the production has moments of violence, we would expect them to have a conversation with a fight choreographer, a fight director, to understand the nature of that within the rehearsals. We expect them to have a conversation with a stage manager, production manager, potentially a lighting designer. So the more research you do, but those dialogical researches, the better your kind of presentation at the end of their pedagogy and production unit. At this moment, the rationale behind it is that a number of the people that come on our program want to be directors. And also a number of the people that come on our program go in as junior lecturers, and the first thing they have to do is direct a production. And they say, well, how do I plan for that? Who do I talk to? How does it function? So bringing in a technical production manager for you to talk to rehearses those sorts of conversations, those sort of collaborative conversations that we have within theatre and within theatre training. Okay. So that's the pedagogy in production unit that will likely be on the specification for the new course that begins in October 2026. But the website will keep Matter Training and Coaching as a discrete title, and then the new course title will be a part of that. So we'll bridge between the two, because we're very aware that a number of you have kind of Googled it and know where we're going. But this is just to reach a different kind of market. So here we go. Bella Merlin, who wrote seminal books on the work of Konstantin Stanislavski, is someone that we bring in to teach at Central quite a lot. And she wrote me a reference a few years ago when we were talking about applying for world leading status. So at the moment, Central has a world leading stamp, and Bella's evocation of what we do, and particularly what we do on this course, was the headline of that application for world leading status. And I could read that out to you, but I imagine you could read. But I'd like to highlight that basically she's talking about this program being world leading in its ethics and inclusion. And so, yeah, the final line is quite a nice one. It is with utter conviction that the instructors and directors of the ATC program seek to create a safe yet brave space for all participants. So what we hope to do on the program is work from who you are, not change who you are. The idea is that we maximize you and to achieve your potential, to celebrate from the position that you are in. We grow you to understand inclusion. We teach you how to navigate disability with dexterity and sensitivity. We teach you the kind of conversations about positionality, oppression, and sensitivity to background. We articulate an equity-centered approach rather than an equality-centered approach. So we model and advocate for deep level understanding of human beings without presuming that we know anyone better than they know themselves. So we work from who you are, and what we are supporting you with is to develop that articulacy, to grow your articulacy, so that anyone asks you, hey, what do? You have the language with which to answer the question. You might say, hey, I'll show you. Or you might have the articulacy to say it in words. And yeah, that's the program. Thank you for watching the presentation. Gosh, that gold is quite telling, isn't it? That's the mood I was in this morning. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to hand over to you. Is there anything you want further clarification about? Any questions? Anything
yes,
that you
please.
want to know more about? Yes, go ahead.
Hello, my name hasn't come up, but I am registered. My name's Susan, and I'm from Wolverhampton.
Hi, Susan.
Fascinating introduction, and I'm very excited to be part of it. Now, if I may, would you mind repeating the people who I need to look up? The lady who runs the well-being course, what was her name, please?
Sorry, the well-being course.
Yes, the last person you mentioned, and the list of people to think about following Stanislavski. I couldn't quite think of the names. I've got Peter Hagen and Peter Hobbs, and Chekhov, with a few others that you mentioned.
Okay, so the last slide was the academic Bella Merlin.
Again, please, it's a bit muffled. Who?
Okay, so I'm going to type it. Bella
Yeah.
Merlin. So it's in the chat. Can you see the chat okay, Susan? Oh dear. I think
No.
Susan is...
No, I think, no, we better not. Perhaps I can email you. Have you got an email?
Absolutely. My email address is on the website. It's jessica.hartley@cfsd.ac.uk. I should have led with that, Susan. For those of you, I know some of you I've already spoken to and had some time online with. I'm always happy to either meet you in person or answer emails. You can find my email address online, or to have a Teams conversation if you're not local to London. But yes, whichever suits your positionality better, I'm quite happy to have a conversation.
Yeah, well, it's just the names, and then I can do some initial reading. So thank you.
Great stuff. So yes, you might want to read Sinead Rush's book on Michael Chekhov. There's a beautiful series of books called Stanislavski and. My colleague Jay Skelton, who runs our approach to acting unit, has just done published Stanislavski and Race, and I contributed chapters to Stanislavski and Wellbeing and Stanislavski and Neurodiversity. So there is a lovely book series, Stanislavski and which might be fun for you to look at, as well as there's also a beautiful book called Stages of Reckoning by a woman graduate by the name of Amy Mishang Ginther. So Stages of Reckoning is a great book about the legacies of actor training and the pivot that we are now on in relation to identity-centered acting as opposed to imposition acting. So I don't want to change you. I wanted to grow you from the core and center that you are. Great stuff. Vaishali has just asked, is MA part-time an option? And MA full-time 1 year still an option? Absolutely, yes. We're just adding the PG cert and the postgraduate diploma. They will still be absolutely options for you. The MA part-time is complex if you are an international student, because it doesn't offer enough hours to get a UK visa. However, if there is no problem with getting a UK visa, you can do the MA part-time. And the MA part-time is over 2 years and it's 2 days a week. The full-time pathway is 4 days a week.
I have a question.
Ooh, 2 at once.
Sorry.
No, absolutely. No apologies. We can't see, can we? Ella, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Shabnam. I have a question. It's a very basic question. I've registered for the course. I did register earlier on this year, but I couldn't make the commitment to start in October. The application, I'm a drama teacher. Is the application straightforward? Are they looking at how many years you've taught? Is it looking? I mean, I've been a drama teacher in Saudi Arabia, which is a blooming, beautiful, it's just an amazing, what can I say, playground of talent, raw talent, and that's what's really inspired me to apply for this course. I'm from the UK, but I have taught in Saudi Arabia. My husband's still out here, but I'm from the UK. I mean, I've headed home now. back and forth because my kids are there. But this is something that I've wanted to do for a very, very long time. I'm actually quite emotional about it, because when I found the course, I was like, finally, there's something that I can actually do, and I'm going to be back home anyway. How competitive is it to get onto this course? Because I feel from how you're talking, I mean, everything is relatable. I understand. I mean, I've studied theatre studies for my first degree, but I've been out of practice for a very long time in terms of being a student. So I'm very eager to get onto the course. I really would like to know if there's any coaching or any assistance to take me through the application.
Okay, so there's two things. The first one is the application is relatively simple. What we're looking for in your personal statement is for you to genuinely connect with why you want to do the course. Don't get out your CV and think about all the gaps in it. Think about all the moments that you as a teacher have had that have allowed you to understand the importance and significance of why we need to train actors in particular ways. So I had a beautiful application just recently, and the person was talking about being on a set with a child actor who was obviously uncomfortable with being picked up, and how they navigated that kind of complexity of consent and intimacy with a child actor that hadn't been thought through. And so yes, we have a lot of actors who are in transition, actors who want to work as trainers, but we also do have a lot of teachers who want to go up to a different level, who want to work with either professional actors or actors in training. Shabnam, there is we've got on our part-time pathway, a second-year part-time pathway, two. One's a secondary school teacher, and one works in kind of Lambda exams and has her own school looking at coaching with young people. So there is no particular background that we look at. Ideally, I need students that know why they want to do it. They're not simply looking for any old training course. They know that this is going to be a pivot from one career pathway to a different career pathway or research pathway. And I'm looking for students that are going to be kind. If you've trained as a teacher, the pedagogy unit will be like breathing to you. I used to be a secondary school teacher, and so I was trained to teach in a very particular way that is, when I got to Central 25 years ago, was antithetical to the way that we used to train actors. And I go, well, why don't you plan classes that way? Why don't you plan classes the same way we do as secondary teachers? Why don't you think of safeguarding the same way that we think of things? So there is, we've had people who've come from archaeology. We've had people who trained as film directors. There is no single entry point, although predominantly it is either people from education or acting that are on a pivot. There is support with the admissions process, but the form itself, our outreach officers can support you if you would need guidance with the form. But as the person that looks at the form, it's really hard to get it wrong. I invite every single person that applies to interview. So on a good year, I'll invite 40 to 50 people to interview. On a tighter year, I'll invite 20 people for 20 places. I don't know what this year is going to bring yet. Financially, we're in an interesting state, the UK, and so consequently, I think people are hesitant about making a major investment, and we have to take that seriously. But if you're offered a place, then even if you can't make the finances, then you could defer your place to the following year. There are also different points in the year where you can apply, where we have scholarship applications open. Central do bursaries, but also if you've been a member of Equity career transition grants have been offered to some of our students who've moved from the acting pathway. So depends on you and depends on your background, but you have to have been offered a place by February to apply for. So there are two scholarship application deadlines. One is in February and one is in April. So you have to have been offered a place at that point in order to apply for the scholarship. Our outreach office do actually do supported applications at BA level. However, if you wanted someone to sit down with you and work through the application form, you can. However, if you just can tell me a story about why you want to do the program, I'm going to read your application and love it. The simpler, you don't have to prove yourself in the application. Just speak from a genuine connection to what you think this course is going to bring. Go on, Shabnam.
One more question. My understanding was it was an open application until the course is filled. Is there a deadline? Because you mentioned February twice now. Is that just for the bursary, which is fine? But
no, I've offered places in August for the right students. So we don't actually close. Places are limited as soon as we get to August. Central would like to close them in July, but if I have places still going, I can make offers. Right. 2 years ago, I offered someone a place on the Friday and the course started on the Monday. So I wouldn't advise that, just for everyone's anxiety levels. But there is no cut-off date.
thank you.
I heard other voices when Shabnam had a question earlier. Was it Ella? Did you have a question?
Yes, I think quite a lot of it got covered actually, which is good. So there's no deadline, which is what I wanted to know. That's a good question though. When do you normally let people know if they're on the course? Obviously, you've just said that you do it up until, August sometimes, but when do you normally let people know?
Within 2 weeks of the interview.
Oh, wow. And if I wanted, because I want to apply now, but I want to defer a year. Can I put that in my application, or it doesn't really matter? Or
Absolutely. Yeah. You can either put it on the application, or we can discuss it at an interview.
amazing. And one more last thing as well. When you're talking about the application, which sounds very nice and calm, and I can think of lots of lovely stories. But a big thing for me right now that I've been thinking is, for me, I think a lot about like the holistic of drama, and I don't quite know what that means yet for me, but through my own journey of being an actor and training and how I connect with actors and the work that I do and what I'm interested in, this kind of idea of like holistic drama kind of keeps on popping up, and I don't really know what that means yet to me. So is that good? Is that okay to kind of have this question of this is what I'm looking for?
Absolutely. People start a master's course with an itch to scratch. I'm not going to divine which of those itches is metaphorically the right one or the wrong one. Holistic drama, that sounds as if you're talking about, oh gosh, almost a psychotherapeutic approach, but also about the world and responsibility and the environment and gosh, ecologies and systems. Well, yeah, we'd put some language on it. We'd work it out. And you could spend a year with me, with you going, yeah, it's holistic. What is that, Jess? And I'd be going, I don't know. Is it this? Do you think? You'd be like, well, there's a bit of that, but it might be a bit of something else. Great. Let's just talk it out, or work it out in a room. Let's see what is the practice of that. Like if I work from a whole person center, I'd be maybe someone like Freddie Hendrix's work might excite you. Freddie Hendrix runs the Youth Theatre of Atlanta, and he works from what he calls the ego center, kind of like growing the ego center of the actor, rather than kind of imposing a technique from the outside, growing from the heart. And he focuses on spirit and movement and joy. So I'd chuck names at you. I'd say, have a look at this person on video. I'd have a little read of this book. What would does that help you to define what you mean by holistic? And halfway through, you might go, oh, Jess, it's not holistic at all. It's compartmentalized. And we go, great, wasn't that wonderful to make that discovery? Because there is no imposition of one way of understanding, because humanity isn't like that, is there? There are as many types and conventions and modes of acting as there are human beings in the planet. because we are all so very, very different.
That's great. Thank you so much.
No worries. Do we have any more questions, any further questions?
Hello, I have one if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't see who that is. Oh, hello.
It's Erin, hello. Sorry about the cats, by the way. They've been coming in and out.
Oh, they're cats. Where are the
Yeah.
cats?
Oh, right here.
Oh my goodness. Oh, who is that princess?
That's Winter. And
Oh,
she
Winter.
would really apparently love to be on the course.
I mean, I don't even need an application.
Winter, you did it. Oh, and then this one's Ash.
Hi, Ash. A little bit more cynical from Ash.
Yes.
Question,
Sorry.
Erin. No.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Basically, stop me if this is like thank you for saying the cats are wonderful. Stop me if this is like a conversation for a later date. But basically, similar to Ella, I'm an actor, and I really want to keep being an actor. I am really sort of starting to think of like practicing, and like looking at like I had a teacher at drama school who was a working actor as well as being a teacher, and she's sort of been my inspiration for thinking about this path for myself. And you talked so much about so much fascinating things about, first of all, the approaches to acting, like training as actors. I think that's really important. But I just wondered, like, what sort of, I guess it's weird to say, but I guess, is that okay? Is it okay that it's not a transition and a change? It's like an evolution.
Absolutely.
Because I just think that could, I would love to be able to do both things, I think.
Yeah, well, a number of our graduates have a portfolio kind of position career. I'm struck by the wonderful actor Sophie Mensah, who teaches regularly, used to run the foundation at Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts, and regularly teaches at LIPA, and just could never turn her back on acting, and now has an amazing screen career alongside, and still provides incredible affirming classes at LIPA when she goes back to teach, and does auditions and that kind of thing. And she articulates that what she gets from the teaching is a more grounded and a rounded understanding of what acting can be on all the different iterations of that. And it gives her a connectedness, so that the acting vocation is still present, but this giving back, this celebration of identity, this the acting was only ever about her, and now she feels like she's plugged into a community that celebrates and affirms stories and the different bodies that can tell stories. So yeah, Roger Evans the same. Roger Evans runs the Lear in Dublin, and comes back. He was in Nye at the National. He played Nye Bevan's best friend at the National. So he comes back and does kind of quite high level acting, and balances it with his coaching profile. So the two can form a really cozy alliance. And I think both of them are better actors, having had an encounter with all of the different modes and methods. So yeah, we're not going to tell you that you need to then come and do my job. Please don't take my job. But the question is, I love my job too much. I'm not ready to leave yet. The desire is that you can grow to the next stage, and this idea of critical, rigorous thinking and processing on our Tuesday sessions in laboratory, the students are kind of often fixated by a problem, and it might be a problem to do with something they've experienced as an actor, it might be something that's pedagogical, it might be, and then they support one another to make discoveries. Watching them all teach one another last week, one student was in everyone's teach because they were just an incredible actor and really taught the teachers or the coaches from the inside. They were able to kind of like, oh no, this is what happens in this exercise with an expert body. So actually, those people that want to continue as actors are a tremendous asset on the program, and they're varied as well. We've got people whose faces you'd recognise on the program currently, and yeah, some quite renowned people taking the program, particularly part-time. And the part-time pathway is absolutely that. And
Yeah,
we get people going,
that's sort of where I've
going
been
off on
leaning.
auditions. Yeah. So and depending on what work you get along the way, we can always adjust. When Rog Evans was on the course, he went into the West End to do Lady Windermere's Fan, and we gave him placement opportunities that worked within his really massive rehearsal schedule. One of our part-time pathway students from last year has taken a break in study because she's just gone into Harry Potter in the West End. So she felt that 6 shows a week plus studying was the wrong pathway for her. So she's taken a year's break in study, and will come back having potted. It's for people to explore and take time and process, and often we'll have students taking a career break or taking a break in study because they're sometimes we find that people are offered more work because their attitude changes within the first term. Their attitude to their job as an actor changes, and then all of a sudden they're being cast in a different way. So I don't know whether that's to do with the practical exercises we do or the pedagogical questions that we ask, but something changes. There's a maturing process that happens on the program.
That is really amazing. So thank you so much, Jess. I really appreciate that.
So I'm looking at the list. Adam says your cats are wonderful. How will the terms look like in the MA full-time? As in, will there be breaks between terms? Yes, there are breaks between terms. So Central currently works with 3 10-week terms. So October to December, then January to April, then January to March, and then April to June. And then the 4th term is a term where the MA students are doing their final sustained independent project, or the MFA students are taking a proper holiday. And that's a 2-month term where you are purely being supervised. So people go to their home countries for that. So yeah, student currently finishing her sustained independent project in Russia. That question of the terms are published on the website in advance. The only differences in that is if your placement opportunity, the term dates are different from ours. The Katie Mitchell placement, if you're the person that supports Katie Mitchell for 2 weeks, that's outside of term time. But we generally work with 3 10-week terms, and it's 4 days a week for the full-time pathway and 2 days a week for the part-time pathway. Although there are study hours of 5 days a week. The classes are over 4 days. Some of those days are half days. It's a kind of around a 25-hour a week study week. The Mondays are generally the day off in the current timetable, but we give you opportunities to observe classes or shadow teachers on those days. So, and also we do set quite high level reading because it is, at the end of the day, a master's program. So we do have quite high expectations of you in terms of studying and reading. We have an amazing learning support centre at Central for anyone neurodivergent like myself. There are additional sessions and classes and learning tutors. We also have an amazing learning centre for international students. So anyone who's looking to improve their English for academic purposes, we provide classes with an amazing academic by the name of Riyad Gemma. So yeah, so we do have a lot of additional support, and that support is covered during the breaks as well, because often after a break, students have to submit an essay or reflection. Winter is just charming my heart. Okay.
I'll include a photo in the application.
Please do. Remember me. Okay. Good. Ella's looking forward to applying. Great stuff. Let me know if I can help you with that, Ella. Is it possible to have a video call with you, Jess? Yes. Okay. Absolutely, Shabnam. Email me. There is the my email details, my contact details are on the website, and I generally respond to emails within 24 hours, as long as it's not at the weekend. If I haven't responded within a week, it's my ADHD brain who's triaged it to later in the day, and you email me again and I'll get back to you. I think a couple of you can attest that when I'm on it, I'm on it. So yeah, I know that there are a couple of you here that I've had email contact with over the weekend. So they'll attest that there's nothing hidden. I don't want to hide anything. I want to be completely transparent about this process. I want the best applicants, and that doesn't mean the ones that fill in a form easily. That doesn't mean the ones that don't ask questions. That doesn't mean the ones that are a particular shiny thing that I just go yes to. I want real, human, authentic people, and I will support you. If this is the course that you want to do, we'll work out how to do it together. All right. So one student, one of my highest graduates last year, Eric, contacted me 3 years before the application process started, and wasn't sure that his English was right, and it wasn't at that point, but we met pretty regularly and we kept in contact. And then when he arrived at Central on day one, it felt like he was joining a community, and we already knew one another. So there's something about, because we only offer 20 places a year, there is an intimacy to that, and we're able to create kind of dialogical relationships, teacher-student relationships right from the word go, or student-teacher, teacher-student. Great. So,
just a quick question.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, quick question. Can you just speak a little bit more about I think it's the Sustained Independent Project, that last term, and just, is it always like, yeah, you write an essay at the end, or is there like, can you do a portfolio, or like how does it materialize? I'm assuming it's quite individual depending on what your interests are, but I guess maybe I'm asking, like, what kind of things might students do for that?
So, gosh, I just marked all of them. So they ranged. So for the MA, it's 12,000 words or equivalent. Right? So you can do a thesis, a very old-fashioned conventional thesis, where you have an argument, and that's one option. I'm looking at some over there. I'm looking at ones that went on to be published in journals and that sort of thing. So don't shy away from this course if you're a really amazing writer, scholar, and academic. That's one pathway. The second one is that you might do a case study. You might go into a school and recognise a contribution that you could make. holistically to a process or a contribution. And so you might do a case study, and that might involve interviews with students. It might involve interviews with staff members, and that will then appear as a very different kind of document from a classic kind of like dissertation structure. You might decide that what you want to do is a presentation. I had an amazing one this year that was both presentation and kind of creative writing. It was called Who Could I Have Been? And it was a scholar's engagement with the discipline structures and mechanisms for the class clown that they experienced when they were at school. And it started with a presentation, so a video clip, and then moved into little essays about what happened at primary school, what happened at secondary school, and what happened in further education in sections, and interspersed were images, poetry, songs. The student really put their personality and persona onto the page. Yes, there was theory. There was theory supporting the way that they had written it, as well as what they were writing about. They've done a lot of theory about formative experiences of students that have been disciplined in education, and also looking at the way that Ofsted writes about what happens in schools. But primarily what their mode was creative writing. So yes, they submitted, I think they submitted around 8,000 typed words, but those were grammatically incorrect, and some of it was poetry. They were making a point about articulacy, and they submitted around 4,000 words equivalent of presentation, and 4,000 words of presentation is 40 minutes of video. So some students do a presentation live. One of our students, who's a senior lecturer at another institution, did a presentation about ecologies and systems, and did over an hour presentation. They submitted a document articulating and framing it theoretically, and then had suitcases and circles and clown noses and whatever. So they did a presentation. It was very beautiful. So, and a few years ago, we had someone create an installation, a pedagogical installation about improvisation and identity. They created and drew us a map, and we encountered sounds of people that had been interviewed, and we saw their art, and we played with some resources, and so it can be as creative as you like it to be. We've also had people submitting a workshop practice. MFA student a few years ago created a mode of acting through song, and submitted videos of that workshop practice, as well as schemes of work and lesson plans for that. So again, it doesn't have to be your classical written essay, although if you want it to be, it can. So yeah, we've got models of all of those different ways of working. But again, we go, where are you most articulate? If you're most articulate as a presenter, why are you not doing a presentation? If you're most articulate as an illustrator, then draw me something. If you're most articulate as an academic writer, then show me why, and why that works for your voice, and how. At all points in the sustained independent project, you have to engage with theory. So there has to be scholarly knowledge based on contemporary actor training practices and processes. And we do teach you some high-level philosophy. So if you want to study phenomenology, and that is a real thing, then we can support you to study phenomenology. And that can be a part of your sustained independent project. That answer your question, Ella?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. That's great. Just there was one other very quick one around when you say on the full-time MA, 25 hours a week as a study week. Is that is it roughly 25 hours of in contact hours in person, and then there'd be independent reading and studying outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
That. So
Fab.
you've got your 2 full days of classes that currently are Thursday, Friday, which are for full-time and part-time students, which is your pedagogies and your approaches to acting. That changes in the second term. It's a little lighter and a little looser as we go off on placement. People are doing different hours at different times, and we map their placement according to their availability. And then on the Wednesday, we have what we call a critical thinking class. And Tuesday, we have a laboratory, which is where people work with one another. So they might take some of the Viola Spolin exercises that we've been doing on the week before, or then Michael Chekhov exercises, or they might be trying to do mock-up classes, and they go, hey, I'd really like to teach this for 5 minutes. And the ensemble go, yeah, okay, great. What do you want from us? So in that class, I've oh my goodness, we've done improvisation based on video gaming. We've done we teach from the inside as well, and then we reflect afterwards. So it's a was it inclusive? Who was it for? How would we adapt it? How might we engage with people whose imagination works differently? How do we engage with students who are visually impaired if you're doing a visual exercise? So how do we make adaptations? Adjustments, but also, are you clear? Did I know what you were asking me to do? When you say imagine a grapefruit, what do you expect me to do with that? How does that work when I don't have a visual imagination? How does that, I'm expecting to smell the grape. What's going on, and why did that help me as an actor? So those constant questions of you might take a quotidian acting exercise, an everyday acting exercise, and we'll explode it and go, what are we doing? But also, we play a lot of games. We do, at the moment, the group enjoy EastEnders Zip Zap Boing. So the game Zip Zap Boing, we teach it through the lens of EastEnders, and we talk about script and delivery of the script, and we talk about clarity, and we talk about energy, what the heck that means, and we talk about connection, and we talk about ensemble skills, but primarily those Tuesday classes are joyful. We just laugh a lot. And it's always from that position of building each other up and being curious about what each other bring and what each other do, rather than judging ourselves as different. Because we do, like I say, have some people in the room. Got one actor at the moment who's most comfortable on his hands. So handstands left, right, and centre. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I could either judge myself as lacking from that teacher, or I could utilise those skills and go, my goodness, how can that enhance my practice? Having this actor in my room, how does that help me understand acting practice? And so that's what we do. Our students are complex, whole. They are diverse and divergent. They are range in age. Currently, our oldest student is 61, and we have students at the age of 22. We have students, from all corners of the world. And I know the world is round. And they identify how they choose. We've got ranges of genders, backgrounds, positions, sexualities. And we go, okay, so how do we work from this position of fairly radical inclusion? And how do we treat one another with sensitivity and respect, even if we might disagree with their faith, or if we might, like I've had people from different positions in relation to war, theatres of war, sitting next to one another in a room, going, politically we might be set one against one another, but in this space and in this room, we're both comported towards the idea of making art. And how do we do that with an enriching and sensitive engagement? Because we're not going to fight patriarchy, we're not going to fight capitalism. How do we together create narratives and discourses that make people feel valid and valuable? So yeah, that's another bit of a rant from Jess Hartley. Any further questions?
Yes, I hope it's not You say we've done it online today. Have we got to be there present for the course, or can we do it remotely?
Unfortunately, it's not a remote course. So yes, it is. It's an in-person program. There are movements towards certain units being put online at some point, but that hasn't been validated. And for me, it's really very important that people can teach in the room with other students. The quality of teaching and learning online is very different. It is a skill set that is not necessarily mine. I had to learn it very quickly during COVID. But yes, it is an in-person program and attendance is mandatory. So we expect you to be present at all the classes and all of the opportunities should you accept the place. And this is to do with the Home Office regulations. If we issue visas or if we offer places to students, if people are registered as students, they need to be in the building.
Okay, and the final one then, the price of the course if we don't get a scholarship.
I am going to hand over to Ikram for that because I put my fingers in my ears and sing la 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 when
Yeah, that's all right. I can
Um,
just grab that like real quick. Just give me a few seconds.
A lot of people when they apply for their masters, if they're UK based and they haven't got the scholarship, do a career development loan. And as I understand it, a career development loan covers the majority of the fees, or at least it did until a couple of years ago, I think. But yeah, Ikram, did you have any?
Okay, yeah. So for the MA year one fee for UK is 12,500 full time and then 6,250 part time. And then for international students is 23,850 for full time and 11,930 for part time. And for the MFA, the year one, the fee for home students is 12,500, and then for overseas is 23,850. And for the year two MFA, for the UK home students is 7,220, and for international students is 8,925. In case you forget that figure, I'm just going to add a link to the course page in the chat. If you go to this link and you scroll close to the bottom, you see an accordion that says tuition fees, bursaries, and scholarships. So it has all the information in there.
Thank you.
Fabulous, Ikram. That's really I've never heard all of those different people.
I guess that's part of my department, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I'm staggered that people want to commit to come and spend this much money with us. What I would say about it is that I did my masters at Central a while ago, 25 years ago, and I take very, very seriously what people invest in to do the course. Even when they get scholarships and bursaries, they sacrifice a lot to do MA study, MFA study, PG Cert study. They give up their time, they give up their finances, and in a number of occasions, they're giving up their homes. The student I mentioned before actually was a Chinese student who had a child during his time here and sacrificed time with a newborn baby to be on the program. We don't take that lightly. That means that the way that I repeat to the students is this is your course, not mine. I uphold the systems and frameworks of the masterliness, but within reason. As it is to do with active training, we try and provide you the opportunities that match your expectations of the course. Because we are the only one in the UK, and actually the only one of three in the world that do this course, it means that we can give you unparalleled access to the best in the field and to the contemporary and current conversations in the field. And I'm never going to take, if you're on the MFA pathway and you have spent, what is it, 23,000 plus 8,000. So if you've spent nearly £30,000 on the course, I'm going to take that very, very, very seriously and try and tailor make it to the expectations that you have when you come in, within reason. I'm not going to teach you something other than extra training, but I will work with you. And the timetable is a 25-hour study week, but I offer surgery once a week, so students can book in to have a 20-minute tutorial with me. If they want to have one a week, absolutely, I do that. There's one student currently I meet every Monday morning to talk through the week, because they feel more comfortable that way doing it. And all our tutors are as available and open to that, bearing in mind the time that they have. And so we also have pastoral tutors. So I have 3 amazing graduates of the course who offer, who give their time to the students as kind of a mentor, not an academic tutor, which is Jay and myself, but as someone who can talk over your thoughts and feelings about your assessments, or helping you to feel more prepared when you go in to teach a class, if your first time you go in and teach. So yeah, so there are opportunities for you to have over the course of the time access to a world leading centre and to the voices that are at the cutting edge of factor training in 2025. Did my masters though a long time ago. Met my life partner. Can't guarantee that. On that rather jokey note about transformation and opportunity, I'm going to call the call to an end. And thank you very, very much for coming and chatting with me today. I will send you a link to have an online conversation. And if anyone needs any further information, my email address is on the website. Okay.
Thanks everyone for joining. Have a lovely day.
Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you so much.